This is gonna be a little bit weird for me because I'm normally behind the camera, or yeah, behind the camera, not in front of the camera. I'm usually behind the camera playing Minecraft, playing video games, but today I wanted to do a sit down chit chat type video with you guys because I wanted to just give you a life update. I'm not the best in front of the camera, so please bear with me for this video. So, I have taken a break from my channel recently. It has been probably 3 or 4 months since I last uploaded a Minecraft video or any video to this channel. And firstly, I do want to apologize for that, but this video is to help explain where I've been and what I've been up to. So I think there's no more introduction. I think I'm just going to hop right in. Like I said, this is going to be a very chit-chatty type style video. I'm going to kind of ramble, so I'm sorry if you're not really into that. I'll try to get as quickly to the point as I can about each thing, but I also just want it to be like I'm talking to a friend or like my Instagram story or something like that, because that'll make me comfortable in front of the camera. My mental health and my physical health have not been the best recently. And it all started with my mental health. I have dealt with major depressive disorder for a very long time. I developed it's kind of started for me when I was in middle school, so around like eighth grade-ish. I was probably like 12 or 13 when I first started really showing, how do I explain this? When I started going through depressive episodes. And I've been dealing with that for a very long time. I was really headstrong with it for a very long time. I didn't do therapy. I didn't do any counseling or any help or any medication or anything for a very, very, very long time. And I just kind of dealt with it. And for me, my depression was like a very big roller coaster. It was like, sometimes I would have years where I was doing really good, and then I would kind of dip back down into a depressive episode, and then I would kind of come out of it. I could always bring myself back out of it. So anytime that I would fall into a depressive episode, I kind of knew that I could get myself out of it in some way. So I've been fighting this roller coaster for a long time is basically what I'm trying to say. Once the pandemic hit, my mental health changed and I developed anxiety. I got really, really bad anxiety after the pandemic. And that was when I started speaking with a therapist because I was starting to have panic attacks. And I had never had panic attacks before. I actually never was really too anxious in my early childhood years. And then going through the pandemic, being in the house all the time, I started to kind of develop a fear of just like everything around me. And so dealing with depression and anxiety has been a huge part of my life. I'm not very good with words. Sorry, guys. I'm trying here. I'm going to try to make this as lighthearted as I can too, because I am in a lot better place right now. So if you notice that I'm smiling and trying to like lighten the mood, it's because I am. But that doesn't go against everything that I'm talking about, because depression and anxiety are very real for me. They have been very real for me for a very long time. So yeah, long story short, I didn't get help for a long time until about a year and a half ago, once my anxiety started to get to a point where I was having daily unprovoked panic attacks in my house. I wasn't doing anything particularly anxiety inducing, but for some reason my brain was just firing, and I started meeting with a therapist about it, and I was officially got my diagnosis of having panic disorder and major depressive disorder, and then anxiety as well, generalized anxiety disorder as well. And my because I had developed these panic attacks as well. A lot of them were happening when I would leave the house. So driving became very difficult. I was starting to have panic attacks at stoplights. I was having panic attacks at movie theaters. I remember there were times where I would go to the movie theater with my dad, and we usually like to go to Sunday morning, like early in the morning, because no one really goes to those. And so we would go watch a movie, and I would be like, I had to put my head on his shoulder because The physical symptoms of having a panic attack were so strong. I was getting so dizzy and I would get these really bad hot flashes, like hot flare-ups. And every time that would happen, I know like I'm about to have a panic attack. And it was the most uncomfortable thing. And doing these things that I used to love to do became so difficult. Like I developed a trigger to restaurants, movie theaters, um, driving, and going to the grocery store. All completely normal things that used to be so effortless, used to be so easy for me to do, were now like almost they felt like the scariest thing in the world to do. After talking to my therapist about it, I was also diagnosed with agoraphobia. I'm so thankful for my therapist because I've that has changed a lot of how I think about things now, and she has helped me a lot. I know therapists aren't for everybody, and that's totally fine, but mine personally has really, really helped me a lot, and I've gotten a better understanding of what's been going on with me. We've been working through a lot of things, and you can probably see I seem in a good, happy headspace, which I do feel like I'm in a better, happier headspace now. These things can affect anybody, and they're really scary to go through. Like when I was having those daily panic attacks, it was terrifying. I never knew how my next day was going to go. Would I wake up anxious? Would I wake up depressed? Would I be happy that day? Would I have to drive that day? I would purposely avoid going to the grocery store, avoid driving. If my dad would want to go see a movie, I'd be like, "Oh, let's just wait till it's out on DVD or on streaming service because I don't really like I don't know, I don't want to go." There were times where we would go to my dad would have tickets to a play, like we were supposed to go see Waitress together, and I really wanted to see Waitress. The day came and I said that we shouldn't go. I didn't want to go because I was so afraid I was going to have a panic attack in the theater and not be able to leave. It got to a point where it was just debilitating. I felt like I couldn't even leave my house. I felt like I couldn't do anything because my own brain was making everything so scary. Over the last about a month and a half now, I started to have physical health issues. My mental health issues actually did cause physical what's the word? Like a physical reaction. Kind of how I mentioned earlier where when I have panic attacks, I like get like really hot. My body gets really hot and I just kind of flare up and feel like I'm like sweating and I need to like take my jacket off because I'm panicking and it's awful. But I also get really dizzy with that. So I've kind of had these like weird physical symptoms for a long time. I also dealt with brain fog and vertigo, dizziness for a very long time. And there were times where even making videos sitting at my computer, I would get these random like dizzy spells. It would make me not want to sit down and record anymore. So it's like this plethora of things of my mental health and panic attacks and being so afraid of just like having anxiety every day, and then the physical symptoms that come along with all of it, and sitting at my computer and like getting a random dizzy spell and being like why is this happening? My physical health, like I was just gonna say, got worse. About a month and a half ago, I developed a condition called POTS, and that stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's a tachycardia syndrome, and if I'm gonna kind of explain it, hopefully I explain it good. I'm not a doctor. I want to disclaim that right now. I'm not a doctor, but I have talked to my cardiologist and my um, a couple ER doctors as well, and my primary doctor about this as well. Just a brief overview for those who don't know what POTS is. So POTS is, like I said, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's tachycardia, which stands for high heart rate, or it means high heart rate. And postural is when your position changes. So your posture. So whenever you sit up, stand up, roll over, walk, run anytime your posture changes. So you go from a laying position to a sitting position, you go from a laying position to a standing position. That's your posture changing. Basically, what it means is that anytime your body does that, your heart rate cannot regulate itself. So it will spike up really high. And normally, your body has a way of regulating that. It keeps it so that when you go from sitting to standing or laying to standing, your heart rate doesn't go crazy. Your heart rate doesn't spike up super, super crazy. But for people with POTS, their bodies cannot regulate that. Anytime they change their posture, their heart rate goes up. Okay, we got it. So, about a month and a half ago, I developed POTS, and was, I cannot even explain to you guys how scary it was at first. I know it sounds like I'm very like lighthearted about it right now. I'm talking about it. POTS, yeah. It was terrifying at first. It still is quite terrifying, but I've seen a few more doctors than I had at that point, and I've come to understand it better, which knowledge will help ease the mind more than a lot of things. It is so helpful to get knowledge about the thing that is scaring you because it will oftentimes make it less scary. But yeah, at first it was really, really scary. And the first night that it happened for me, I don't actually even know if it had been happening over time or not. The way it happened for me was I kind of had one big night, and I'm sure it was happening prior to this night. I don't know because I wasn't tracking it. I wasn't even really aware of it until one night I was laying in bed and I was eating chips. I wasn't doing anything stressful. I was watching a movie, eating a can of Pringles. My heart just started pounding. I could feel it like pounding in my chest for no reason. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, I don't feel anxious right now. This doesn't feel what was weird is I've had panic attacks many times before. I know what that feels like. And this didn't feel like that. I wasn't getting hot. I wasn't getting dizzy. My chest was just pounding and I was like, this doesn't feel like a panic attack. What's going on? So I put on the Apple Watch and it was reading 150 beats per minute. My heart was beating 150 beats per minute, which is definitely not normal. Not an average heart rate, at least. I was laying in bed at the time and I was like, there's no reason my heart rate should be 150 and I'm laying in bed. That seems really not good. Thankfully, my dad was around, so I went down and talked to him and I said, "Hey, something's not right. Like something I don't feel okay. My heart rate is really high and I don't know why and I'm really scared." And so we went to the emergency room. And basically, when I was there, they gave me an EKG and a blood test. EKG is a monitor of your heart. They stick all these like stickers on you, and it like electrically does something with your heart. Honestly, I kind of don't really know what it does, but it's just they put all these stickers on your body, and it sends information from your heart, like the electricity in your heart, into the machine. I believe. But it's basically something like that. They stick all this stuff to your thing and it reads your heart. My EKG came back normal. Everything looked fine. And then my blood test came back and I was pretty anemic. Pretty dang anemic, kind of scary anemic almost. My potassium was also low and I also had a little bit of a high thyroid. But it's in a gray area, so it's not like high, but it's not where it should be. It's like in the gray area. And basically, they just sent me home and they couldn't really do anything except for give me some calming medicine to help bring my heart rate down. And that was basically it. So I kind of thought that this would be a one-time thing and I would just be like, okay. But it wasn't. And ever since that night, my heart rate was continuously high. My resting heart rate was high. And then when I would get up, stand up, move, my heart rate would go higher. And I started to notice a pattern that whenever I would lay down, my heart rate would stabilize and it would kind of go back low again. But then anytime I would get up, sit up, stand up, go to the bathroom, go get food, my heart rate would shoot up and I would wear my Apple Watch and it would just shoot up whenever I would get up. And when I would go to the bathroom, I could physically feel my heart pounding in my chest. 5 steps to the bathroom, I'd be on the couch, 5 steps to the bathroom, and my heart would just be pounding. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is so weird. 150 heart rate is if you're doing strenuous, like running, jogging, like your heart rate will get up there pretty high. But I was walking 5 steps to the bathroom and it was doing that. So I went to see my primary doctor. When I went into the office, then my heart rate was 150 again. And my doctor was like, this could just be anxiety, but I've seen a lot of people come in with anxiety and their heart rates are not 150. And that was one of the most like, that was how she said it word for word. And that was one of the most like reassuring things for me because both my dad and I even were kind of thinking that this might just be really, really bad anxiety, that my anxiety had gotten so out of control that now my heart was being affected by it in some way. Like it was just crazy. But that wasn't the case. And my doctor said, I would really like to have you see a cardiologist. Now getting a cardiology appointment was pretty hard. I had to wait. It was going to take about a month for me to get into somebody. And at this point, I was terrified. My heart rate was uncontrollable. The only time it was good was when I was laying down. So I thought I was going to have to be on bed rest. I was on bed rest at this time. I was just laying down. I wasn't doing anything because I was so afraid that if I did anything, my heart rate would get too high and it would cause something bad to happen, is what I thought. I had another ER visit in between the time that I saw the cardiologist and my primary. We actually went to urgent care first, and it was just a weird another heart rate spell where I was laying in bed, and this was actually right after I woke up in the morning. So my heart rate literally woke me up in my sleep. And I remember flipping over in bed, and then that was when my heart rate just like took off, was after me. I think I had flipped over twice. I think I flipped over and then I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I flipped over again. My heart rate was just like, you flipped over too much. What the heck? And they gave me another EKG and it came back pretty normal. And the nurse came in and she was talking to me and she was like, because I was laying there for a while because they had to like do the EKG results. And she's like, your heart rate's come down quite a bit. When you first came in here, it was 173. And she was like, now it's down in the 130s. And I was like, 170? 170? What? And I was terrified. I was like, I was like, that doesn't seem great. Yeah, I thought it was getting worse. The reason it had gotten to 170, first of all, I walked from the parking lot inside, which walking has been quite difficult with POTS for me. Anytime I walk, it like really agitates it quite a bit. Going from laying to standing also agitates it a lot. Sitting to standing is not too bad. And then if I sit in one place for a long time, it usually stabilizes out. So if I'm laying down, it'll kind of like stabilize. And then if I sit like I'm sitting right now, it feels fine. It's like stabilized out. But if I go from sitting to standing, it kind of needs time to adjust. And then walking's been quite difficult. We're almost to the end. But for some reason, my heart rate was like super high. So they were like, we're going to send you to emergency, have you get a blood test, have them look at your EKGs, and then we'll be good. And then when I got to the ER, they gave me another blood test. Everything was fine except for my iron levels. And they basically were like, we can't do anything for you again. Like, well, your heart rate's high. It's going to come back down. Just go home and like lay down and it will come back down. They also did give me a medication that will help bring my heart rate down. And I do take that whenever I anticipate that my heart rate's going to be high or anytime I have a spike in my heart rate. That was basically it. But when I was in the emergency room and also at the urgent care, 2 nurses mentioned I might have POTS or that it seems like I have POTS. And they were like, have you heard of that? Do you know what that is? And I was like, not really. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. So they kind of explained it to me a little bit, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll talk to my cardiologist about that and see what they say. So then I met with the cardiologist. I was actually able to get in early because I was on the wait list to get in early. So that was awesome. And I met with a cardiologist the first time, and my doctor wanted me to get a heart monitor put on. So I'll put a little video over here. So I got my heart monitor on today. It's called a Zio heart monitor. Just stuck to my chest like that, and it just collects all the data that my heart provides, and I wear it for 2 weeks. And it's just a little thing, and it has a button on it, and if I ever feel any like dizziness or chest pain or anything weird, I just press this button, and then I have a little booklet that I like write down what the reasoning was, but for me to press the button. So yeah, and then I just, at the end of 2 weeks, I just send it back. Excuse my extremely rough hair appearance. But it's been 14 days, which means I get to finally take off my heart monitor, and it's coming off already, so it's time. I feel like this is gonna hurt. Ow. Ah. It's flashing. It's flashing orange, which means that it is disconnected, so that's good. And now I just have to put it in the box and send it to where they get all the results from. So, wow, it's off. So he ordered me a heart monitor. I wore that for 2 weeks, and that took every heartbeat, every single heartbeat, and it took the maximum rates of my heart, the minimum rates of my heart, and the average rates of my heart. And it was going crazy. I'll try to see if I can maybe I'll put a picture of what my, like, one of the days of my heart rate looked like, so you guys can see, like, you can see on there, it would literally spike up. So it would, anytime I would stand up, you can see it'll spike. And there's like this little blue bar on there, and that is under 100. So where that blue line is, that's 100 beats per minute. So anything above that is over 100 beats per minute. Anything below that is lower than 100 beats per minute. And usually you want to kind of, stay below 100 or kind of around 100. But mine, you can see that anytime I would stand up, it would go whoop, and it would shoot up to like 130, 140, 150 beats. And then I would sit back down, and it would go right back down for like 40 minutes. Also, those little lines are in 20-minute increments. So every 20 minutes, it would kind of log that. So I would stand up, and then a couple minutes later, I'd sit back down. You can see it kind of neutralizes. It goes back down for like 40 minutes, and then it will go up, and then it'll go down, and it'll go up. So the heart monitor was a really good indicator of POTS, because you could physically see every time I sat down, it would stabilize back out. It would kind of go back lower. And then every time I would stand up, it would go whoop, it would go right up to like 130, 140. And my heart monitor, the highest it got was like 177 or something like that. I got that a couple times. My lowest heart rate was 40 actually. And my minimum heart rate, I think, was in the 60s, which is, my cardiologist said that that's actually pretty good. So he wasn't super concerned by my heart monitor. My average heart rate was actually relatively low. And he said too that when I'm sleeping, you can see when it gets really low, that's when I'm sleeping. And he said that it dipped down when I was sleeping, and that's a good sign as well. So that was good. And then the other thing he ordered was for me to get an echocardiogram, which is a ultrasound of my heart. So they go in, take the wand, do it all over your heart and on the side of your ribs and underneath and everything. And it takes pictures of all of the structure of your heart, so like all the valves and everything like that. And they look at the structure to make sure that everything is good. And my heart came back great. So my structure is good. There's nothing wrong with my structure. I also, in the heart monitor, it can detect like irregular heartbeats and pauses and AFib and things like that. And I had none of that as well. So my heart is good. She's good in there, but something is causing my heart rate to misfire, and that is what's leading to the POTS. And it's been a crazy journey, but after talking to the cardiologist, another thing that my cardiologist mentioned was that this is not life-threatening and it is not going to cause me to have a heart attack. It is a good thing to hear, and it did put my mind at ease a lot to hear that, because that was my biggest fear throughout the early stages of what was going on with this. I really thought, like, I walk around, am I gonna have a heart attack? That was my biggest fear. Just being completely transparent with you guys, but that is not the case with POTS, so that's a good thing. So it's just been about like learning my body, learning what's going on, and when I need to sit down and when I don't, and I do need to rest quite often. I haven't been going to the grocery store because it's quite a lot of walking. I can't really do a lot of walking or a lot of physical activity, so I do sit down a lot to keep my heart rate pretty stable. I do lay down quite a bit, watch movies, just keep my heart stable. But the good thing is, if you've made it to this point in the video, thank you for listening to all my rambling. Um, I hope that it wasn't too painful to listen to me just gabbering on about stuff. Maybe this is just some like weird me just fantasy thinking, but in a weird way, I felt like my body was like, you know what, YouTube is what you're meant to do, and you need to do this. And um, I don't know. Again, maybe that's just like some weird fantasy idea, but in a weird way, it kind of worked out. Like there was a period where I was gonna put YouTube on the back burner a little bit, and I feel like my body's kind of like, hey, no, this is what you're meant to do. So believe in yourself and keep going. Keep fighting for this thing that you've put so much time and passion into. So keep fighting. And I feel like that's what my body's trying to tell me through having POTS, through having depression, through having anxiety, through having everything that I've been going through. I feel like my body's like, you're not giving up. You're not giving up on your dream, okay? On your passion. That's all I gotta say. I'm sorry if this was a super long video and super rambly and all over the place. Kind of just how my brain works, honestly. I'm just excited to be back, and I'm excited to be feeling better. I hope that you guys can see throughout this video, I've been smiling, I've been laughing, I've been trying to kind of make this a lighthearted video. I know one thing I want to mention as well is that POTS is really serious. It's terrifying. I can't express that enough. Like the first month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, really honestly, until I met with my cardiologist and he was like, this seems like POTS. This is what it is. It's not gonna hurt you. Until I met with him, I was just fearful. I was like crippled with fear because I treated myself like a baby bird. Also, going through depression and anxiety is not a joke. It's so scary. It's so debilitating sometimes, and I completely understand how debilitating it can be, especially anxiety and especially panic attacks. There were times where I would get so mad at myself and cry and be so frustrated because I couldn't even go to a grocery store or a movie theater with my family because my panic was that bad. Like I said, I know I'm kind of lighthearted about it now, and I'm trying to be optimistic, and I'm mentally in a very much in a better place now. And I hope you can see that. I hope it comes through. But man, it's been rough. It has not been fun. And I just want to say that I'm so sorry to anyone who's dealing with both POTS and anxiety, depression, agoraphobia, PTSD, OCD, anything, anything. Because, first of all, you're valid. I'm valid. my feelings are valid, and anything I go through or you go through is valid. And if you're feeling these feelings, please reach out to somebody. Honestly, one of the best things I did, and I'm also so sorry if you feel like you don't have anyone to reach out to. It could be a teacher, it could be a friend, it could be a parent, be a therapist, it could be anybody. One of the things I did was that helped me a lot was being honest with my dad. My dad has been my best friend through this whole process. He's been with me through all my cardiology visits and all my ER visits he took me to. And having someone there was really, really what kind of keeps me going. So I'm very blessed for that. But I just really hope you guys don't feel too alone, because even the people that you might not expect are going through these things are going through these things, and it is really scary. So I'm not gonna get emotional. Okay, I'm gonna close off the video here. I'm not gonna get emotional on you guys, but I just really don't want you to feel alone, because like I said, even the people that you would not expect are going through hard things. And yeah, there some people, it happens, okay? Okay. So anyways, please keep your chin up. I hope my videos, my Minecraft videos, can bring you some joy or some peace, and I'm gonna try to keep them coming. This is my official video just saying like, hey, here's what's been going on, and I'm coming back, and I'm gonna be making videos again. So I hope that maybe my videos or some other YouTubers' videos, or your favorite movie, or your favorite song, or your favorite band, or your family, or your friends, or your favorite hobbies can bring you joy. And just know that pain really is temporary. I know it doesn't seem like it. It really doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's gonna last forever. But I promise you, it's gonna get better. You're gonna come out of it. And you're gonna, one day, you are gonna have a good day. It's gonna feel good. Thank you guys for watching this video. And I hope to see you again soon on my channel. Okay? Bye, guys. Ah! Okay, bye. Officially.